Ever feel like you're just a tiny boat,
Right.
tossed around in a huge storm? Totally overwhelmed. I think we've all been there.
Yeah, for sure. That feeling of helplessness, it's pretty universal.
And that's actually what today's deep dive is all about.
Oh, cool.
We're looking at this, it's an excerpt from a Korean text. The title is 유ren
Okay.
which means pasted text.
Interesting.
But it reads like a parable, kind of offering some wisdom on how to deal with those tough times, those storms.
I like that. A good parable, always a good place to start.
Right. So it's a single source today.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot to unpack.
Awesome. I'm ready.
So the story, it uses some pretty simple imagery, but it gets at something really, profound.
I think that's the best kind of storytelling. When it's simple, but it hits you hard, makes you think.
Totally. So,
Yeah.
like the storm in the story, it's a metaphor, right?
Yeah, yeah. For all those things in life that feel like they're totally out of our control.
Exactly. Like we've all felt that way sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. Like when something happens and you're just like, why is this happening to me,
Totally. And at the center of this storm, there's a fisherman. He's deeply connected to the sea, but he's also terrified of storms.
Huh. That's an interesting conflict. To love something that also scares you.
Right. Like it's this push and pull.
It's like, I think it reflects that basic human thing. We want the good stuff, but the bad stuff kind of comes with it.
Yeah, totally.
Right.
Okay, so as you can probably guess, this fisherman, he gets caught in this massive storm.
Oh.
I mean, huge waves, black skies, his little boat's like a toy out there. And he's terrified,
I
obviously.
can imagine anyone would be.
And so he's like, why me? What did I do to deserve this? Like, he wants to blame something,
Right. We always want a reason. Like, if I can just figure out why, then maybe I can fix it or prevent it next time.
Exactly. But sometimes there just isn't a reason.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just like bad luck or being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Okay, so he's freaking out, and then he hears this voice.
Ooh, spooky. A voice in the middle of the storm.
Right. And it's not clear if it's like divine or if it's maybe both.
Okay, interesting.
But the message is super clear. It says, stop focusing on what you can't control. Focus on what you can.
Whoa. That's powerful.
I know, right?
And it kind of shifts things, doesn't it? Because instead of just being scared, he starts to, he can do something.
Yes, he can take action. So he starts rowing, not to control the storm, but just to, try to get to safety.
Okay, so it's not about magically calming the sea. It's about what he can actually do in that moment.
Exactly. And it made me think of Stoic philosophy. Have you ever read any of that stuff?
A little bit. Isn't that all about accepting what you can't change and all?
Yeah. It's about focusing your energy on what you can actually influence. And I feel like that's what's happening in the story,
Totally. And I bet it's not just Stoicism. I mean, this idea pops up all over the place. In Buddhism, it's all about accepting that things change.
Oh, right. Impermanence and all that.
Yeah. And in Taoism, there's this concept of Wu Wei, which is effortless action. It's about going with the flow, not fighting against it.
Huh. I like that.
And even in modern psychology, like CBT, it's about changing your thinking patterns.
So it's like this timeless wisdom that keeps popping up.
Absolutely. Humans have been struggling with this forever, how to find peace when everything feels chaotic.
And then there's the faith element, right? Because the story talks about trusting in a higher power. Even quotes a line from the Bible. It says, yo yay, yo yay, yo yay.
Oh, wow. And what's that in English?
It's be still and know that I am God, from Psalm 46 point now.
Okay, so is it saying you should just give up and let God handle it?
That's what I was wondering. But the fisherman isn't just sitting there waiting for a miracle. He's rolling his butt off.
Good point. So maybe it's more about finding that balance, acceptance and action.
Yeah, I think so. It's having faith gives him the courage to keep going, even when it feels impossible.
Right. And maybe faith doesn't have to be religious. It could be faith in yourself or in humanity or just that things will eventually get better.
Totally. And, the story ends with this beautiful image of the fisherman reaching a calm harbor, safe and sound.
Ah, a happy ending. I like that.
But it also makes me think, what does a safe harbor look like for our listeners? What are they striving for?
And maybe how can they apply the lessons from the story? What can they actually do today to get closer to that safe harbor, even if it's just a small step? Because those small steps can really add up,
Yeah, that's a great point. Even when it feels like a huge storm, we can still choose how we respond. We can focus on what we can control.
And maybe that's the key takeaway here.
I think so too.
Well, this was a really cool deep dive. I love those simple stories that have, like, layers of meaning, you know?
Me too. It's amazing how much you can pack into like a short parable.
For sure. Makes you think.
Absolutely. So, listeners, we hope you got something out of this deep dive too. And until next time, keep exploring.
And keep rowing.
Yes, even when the storm's raging.
Exactly. You got this.
See ya.